After nearly 2 years of campaigning by the city, the UK government has granted a substantial post-Brexit prize to the financial industry. The Treasury said in an 80-page paper that it aims to remove EU legislation that will be kept after Brexit but are no longer judged appropriate. The Treasury's announcement instead, the Financial Conduct Authority and the Prudential Regulation Authority will develop new regulations for the financial sector. Regulators will be empowered to develop criteria that are more suited to the UK market if EU laws are repealed. The guidelines also state that while the primary purpose of the UK's two financial watchdogs would remain be to ensure financial stability, they will now be tasked with encouraging growth. Financial regulation reform is seen by the Treasury as an important Brexit victory because it will allow the UK to adapt more quickly to market changes. It is important that regulators have more power and remain independent to enable a more dynamic supervisory structure than under EU laws, according to the government and its friends in the city. Although this is a step in the right direction, many in the sector are still clamoring for even more leniency. Their goal is to provide regulators a new mission that includes international competitiveness and economic growth with integrity enforcement and sectoral capital needs as important concerns. That would effectively give the city even more leeway, as its attorneys may argue that any new rule could harm the country's worldwide competitiveness and growth prospects. That competition was listed as a secondary priority in the ABI's Hugh Evans, Director General of the Association of British Insurers, is disappointing. Regulators would always prioritize primary aims over secondary ones. This will not happen unless regulators prioritize economic growth, he continued. There is little reason to believe that anything big will change from here on out. In the words of Miles Selleck, the CEO of the City UK, the new plans match much of what the industry has been pushing for. A Treasury official argued that the government was correct to prioritize financial stability over competitiveness. It frees up regulators to focus on their core duties, he explained. Prudent regulations can't be stifled by competitive interests. Until February, ministers and other key officials will be able to provide additional information about their plans for the country. Extra time will be freed up for parliamentary work thanks to the new guidelines, which will allow supervisors to remove extraneous elements of legislation that were copied from the EU statute book in a rush in 2019. At the time, the measure was vital to avoid a legislative black hole as the UK made Brexit official, meaning the so-called EU acquis no longer applied. The Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority will be able to begin sifting through the onshored laws next year when the final version of the framework regulations is released in early 2022. Key matters remain unanswered, including whether to create a new oversight committee or boost the capacity of the existing Treasury Committee, which would parallel EU Parliament's Econ panel. The government has not weighed in explicitly on these issues. Increasingly crucial is all the government has said about the recently constituted Parliamentary Industry and Regulators Committee. More broadly, the question of who will monitor regulators as they gain more powers remains unanswered. To address this, industry and lawmakers have pushed for mandatory court reviews of all new regulations, which has spawned a fresh controversy.